давно не видел маму.
Боясь врагами, долго будут люди песни распевать. И в кругу с друзьями часто вечерами эти дни когда-нибудь мы будем вспоминать. Об огнях, пожарищах, о друзьях, товарищах. Где-нибудь, когда-нибудь мы будем говорить. Помню я пехоту и родную уроку. И тебя за то, что ты дал мне закурить. Давай закурим, товарищ одной, давай закурим, товарищ мой. Нас опять Одесса светит, как хозяев, звезды Черноморья будут нам сиять. Славную Каховку, город Николаев, эти дни когда-нибудь мы будем вспоминать. Давай закурим, товарищ одной, давай закурим, товарищ мой. А когда-нибудь немцев исполине и к своим любимым мы идем опять. Помним, как на запад шли по Украине. Эти дни когда-нибудь мы будем вспоминать. Об огнях, пожарищах, о друзьях, товарищах. Где-нибудь, когда-нибудь мы будем говорить. Помню я пехоту и родную уроку. Тебя за то, что ты дал мне закурить. Давай закурим, товарищ одной, давай закурим, товарищ мой. Давай закурим, товарищ мой.
20-е годы над миром летели, разруха и голод в глаза нам глядели. Лихие тачанки нас в бой уносили, легенды расскажут, какими мы были. Нам счастье досталось не с миру по нитке, оно из Кузбасса, оно из магнитки. Длинные земли, космос далекий, все это из нашей истории строки. В огне не горели, в воде не тонули, а время настало, под пули шагнули. Нас в песнях воспели и в бронзе отлили. Легенды расскажут, какими мы были. Нам счастье досталось не с миру по нитке, оно из Кузбасса, оно из магнитки. Длинные земли и космос далекий, все это из нашей истории строки. Как прежде мы лица от ветра не прячем, сердца проверяем мы в деле горячем. Как прежде мы тверже гранита и стали, легенды расскажут, какими мы стали. Нам счастье досталось не с миру по нитке, оно из Кузбасса, оно из магнитки. Целинные земли и космос далекий. Все это из нашей истории строки. Целинные земли и космос далекий. Все это из нашей истории строки.
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
La patria está forjando la unidad. Del norte al sur se movilizará. Desde el salar, ardiente mineral, al bosque austral. Unidos en la lucha y el trabajo irá. La patria cumplirá su paso ya. Anuncia el porvenir.
De pie cantar que vamos a triunfar. Millones ya imponen la verdad. De acero son ardiente batallón. Sus manos van llevando la justicia y la razón. Mujer, con fuerza y con valor, ya estás aquí junto al trabajador. Y ahora
Чили. 11 сентября 1973 года. По всей стране уже лилась кровь патриотов. Фашисты вели прицельный огонь по резиденции законного правительства Чили, а над большими и малыми городами страны, над медными рудниками и селитряными копьями звучал гордый призыв к единству, которое сделает народ непобедимым. Песня была прервана автоматными очередями пособников хунты, ворвавшихся на радиостанцию Магальянес.
la patria cumplirá su paso ya. Anuncia el porvenir, наш час настал. К оружию, мой друг, шахтер, студент, крестьянин, металлург. Борьба идет, без гимнов и знамен. Вперед, вперед, альенный батальон, пока борьба идет. Без гимнов и знамен, но наш народ не будет побежден.
Но расстрелянная в упор, песня не погибла. Ее подхватили в разных странах, на разных языках. Она стала символом солидарности советских людей с чилийскими борцами за революцию.
Jamás será vencido el pueblo unido, jamás será vencido.
День Победы, как он был от нас далек, как в костре потухшем таял уголек. Были версты обгорелые в пыли, этот день мы приближали как могли. Этот день Победы порохом пропах. Это праздник сединою на висках. Это радость со слезами на глазах. День Победы, День Победы, День Победы. ночи у мартеновских печей не смыкала наша Родина очей. Дни и ночи.
Уважаемые делегаты, пленарное заседание SOVINTERN.
Dear delegates, the plenary session will begin in 5 minutes. Please take your seats.
Спасибо.
Mesdames et messieurs les délégués, la séance plénière du Forum SOVINTERN commencera dans 5 minutes. Nous vous prions de bien vouloir vous rendre dans la salle des colonnes et de prendre place. Merci.
Estimados delegados, la sesión plenaria del Foro SOVINTERN comenzará en 5 minutos. Les rogamos dirigirse al salón de columnas y tomar sus asientos. Gracias.
Dear delegates, the plenary session of the SOVINTERN Forum will begin in 5 minutes. Please proceed to the column hall and take your seats. Thank you.
Пойдем?
Dear delegates, distinguished organizers and participants of this event, the International Socialist Forum, SOVINTERN for Socialism in the 21st Century. Dear comrades, we are opening the plenary session of our forum. I very much hope that the cold and the snow that welcomed you today in the morning will not put out the fire in our hearts, and this session will be a success. There will be two co-moderators, me, Ms. Abramova, a member correspondent of the Russian Academy of Sciences, head of the Institute of Africa of the Russian Academy of Sciences, and Dmitry Petrov, who's a professor of the Higher Humanitarian School of Moscow, an amazing individual. He knows 30+ languages, and he's a TV host. So let's kick off the session. Many of you, I'm sure, would have a question. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, the idea of socialism seemed to lose its relevance. So why is it still of interest to millions and even billions of people? Well, because the capitalism that got the upper hand was not able to tackle either of the problems. The world is teetering on the brink of World War III. The global economy is facing a systemic crisis. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. Still unresolved are environmental issues, international security issues. We need to eradicate poverty, hunger, and illiteracy. And amid these developments, the main idea of socialism, of justice, mutual assistance, and equality is becoming increasingly relevant. As the head of the Institute of Africa, I must say that Africans have a philosophy called Ubuntu, and the message behind it is as follows. I exist because we exist. That encapsulates the idea of socialism, when collective interests need to be above individual interests. I wish you successful deliberations, and I hope that it will be held in a very successful manner. I believe in it. We've received several welcoming remarks from high-ranking individuals. And first and foremost, I'd like to start off with the welcoming remarks by the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, to the participants of the First International Socialist Forum, SOVINTERN for Socialism in the 21st Century. Dear friends, I welcome you to this founding forum of the International Socialist Network, SOVINTERN. Your meeting has brought together representatives of Russian and foreign political parties and movements, as well as public interest organizations that focus on social equality, sovereign development, and traditional spiritual and moral values. In Moscow. I'd like to underline that Russia has always sought to expand productive collaboration between all constructive national political forces, together with our counterparts and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS, and the Eurasian Economic Union. We are creating real mechanisms of partnership in terms of legislative and party structures to bring together the efforts of political leaders and our MPs to address joint challenges of global and regional stability and security, to facilitate economic and social development. I very much hope that the establishment of the new format of inter-party cooperation will further multilateral political and public ties and will facilitate trust between our nations and countries. I wish you successful deliberations, substantive discussions, and all the best. President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. Distinguished delegates, dear comrades, we've also been addressed by the chairman of the Socialist Party, Just Russia, Sergei Mironov. It's a very important, high-stakes address because we're having 200 plus delegations from 70 countries around the world who represent more than 100 parties, socialist parties and movements. Dear friends, dear colleagues, I'd like to welcome all of the participants of the founding forum, the First International Socialist Forum, SOVINTERN, for Socialism in the 21st century. We bring together all sound international forces for equality, for freedom. That's a very timely decision. The past decades have seen multiple changes in the world, and we're seeing fast-paced transformations. Many countries are witnessing a crackdown on the socialist achievements of the labor force that seems to be strong until recently. The globalist policy has led to an outburst of xenophobia and the dismantling of international law. The dominance of capital has led to the many countries, whole countries, becoming the appendage of transnational corporations, multinational corporations. If this persists, many of the nations will not have any future. They will no longer be part of the international historical process and will lose their identity, culture and language. Capitalism, once again, has degraded to barbarism. Socialism has always been and will be an alternative to capitalism. Socialist idea has been generated by culture and a decades and centuries long striving of people towards equality. Socialism opposes barbarism. It's in our power to make sure that socialism will prevail over capitalism so that we guarantee a bright future for the humanity. Only a socialism 2.0 of the 21st century can address real challenges and threats that humanity is facing. And it's not just theory, it's real political practice that we're shaping today. The socialist idea is rooted in the tenet that it's all about equality. It's one of the most fundamental ideas of human civilization. It's only through this, it's only in those places where socialist rights are upheld, we can enjoy our human rights. It's a precondition for an efficient democracy. So our first and foremost goal is an active, proactive socialist policy, fighting for an equal distribution of proceeds, basic social guarantees that protect people from poverty and arbitrariness. We need to fight for an affordable healthcare and education system, high pensions, but the greatest strength of socialism is that it's always open for new ideas and for breakthrough social projects. All of the achievements of science and technology of the Soviet Union are testament to it. We've transformed from an agrarian country to one of the high-tech leaders, and that's impressed many of the nations around the world in the 20th century. Even our adversaries had to admit that. Therefore, our top priority for new socialism is transformation, large-scale transformation of the industry and the economy. We need to move to socialist principles. We socialists has demonstrated to the international community our solidarity for multiple times. We're ready to work together. We can protect the social rights and the genuine national interests of our countries. We socialists has worked at international fora, including held by the Socialist International. However, and we have to mention that, we have to be open, the leadership of SOVINTERN has transformed into ordinary bureaucrats. They have succumbed to the Western policy of double standards, the hybrid war, and double standards, and the ordinary members are just statists. They don't do anything. So that's why we've come up with the SOVINTERN to overcome the crisis of the socialist movement, to bring back the dialogue, restore the spirit of solidarity, and mutual assistance. And that applies not only to global international agenda, but also to the fundamentals of socialism. We also need to review our international experience. The experience of building socialism in Soviet Union raised a few fundamental issues, but it has not addressed it. And these issues are still relevant. Social equality versus economic efficiency, civil interest versus the government, national identity versus political unity of the government. We will work together and definitely find solutions to all those questions. The post-Soviet experience of Russia in the 1990s demonstrated that socialism is not a commodity that you can choose on the shelf in your store. Socialism requires equality amid the digitalization. Our country has suffered colossal losses once we worked with and followed the advice of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. We need to look back at our culture and our DNA, at our idiosyncrasies of its traditional institutions. Every nation must freely and independently choose their own path forward. The forum that we are founding today, together, thanks to its digital formats and the interactive platform, will enable us to conduct dialogue, ongoing dialogue, to forge new values and meanings. We're calling on democratic socialist parties, all those who share socialist ideas, to work together against those who impose their will against others, against neocolonialism, against the arms race for social progress and for a decent life for everyone. Thank you. Dear comrades, again, it's our inaugural forum, and we've received the remarks from well-known, acclaimed leaders of the socialist movement, and we can now listen to a video address by the president of Bolivia, who was from 2006-2019, Evo Morales. Comrades, on behalf of all the nations of Latin America, where we can feel fraternal solidarity with all the leading nations, I would like to welcome all of you. When the people stand together, when people work together, there is hope that we can beat empires. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be part of this event. We're all victims of persecution. It's a reality. And many of our comrades can feel that pain and share my sentiment. We're persecuted for the fact that we don't give up on our principles. We preserve our solidarity. We stand strong in our political fight. We're fighting for the interests of our people. And this is our shared cause, brothers and sisters. Imperialism wants to divide us, wants to split us, to enslave us, to steal all of our resources, natural resources, and to put an end to free nations. Amid a new geopolitical context internationally, we demand that our rights are upheld and restored without any military intervention, without the dominance of the US dollar. Without that, there will be no hegemony. And so it is our commitment, our duty, historical duty, to come together. There proletariat, students, men and women, representatives of the creative industry. Only together we can defeat capitalism, because capitalism is the worst enemy of the people. We also demand a release of our president in Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, our sister, Cristina Kirchner, who fought against imperialism and who were put into jail illegally. We send you our fraternal greetings from Bolivia. We send you a show of support from a fraternal nation, and we will fight until we prevail. Thank you. We've received one more video address from the President of Paraguay from 2008 to 2012, Fernando Luga.
Buen día, soy...
Good afternoon. I welcome you from Paraguay. And now, me and my colleague, my comrade, President Fernando Luga, we were creating our great motherland. We were building that. We were together with the most progressive governments, with the governments seeking development all over the world. And that forum that is held in Moscow, end of April, that's a very important milestone. We have to understand how to create a unified front of progressive forces. I have a question. What about the right-wing parties? What about the entrepreneurs? They focus on the military domination and on the economy, seeking to prevent us from development. Us, the majority of the countries, I mean, our right to self-determination, that's the most important right. That's why that event in Moscow is remarkable. I'd like to congratulate the organizers on that occasion, because we meet with the progressive world that others try to subordinate, but we refuse to give up. This front resists to what is going on. That stands up against genocide and war conflicts. That's very important, and we're going to see each other very soon, right? Right. I totally agree. We have to insist on our unity in the name of peace. We invite all the countries to join our ranks, all countries from all over the world. That's very important. We have to unite. We join you, but at the same time, I want to wish you all the very best. We're speaking on behalf of all our compatriots. Let's progress. Dear friends, dear comrades, and now we are moving from South America to North America, and let's listen to the video address of another international actor, secretary on the international issues of the American Communist Party, Christopher Hilali. Christopher Hilali, at the moment, is in Iran, the hotspot, as you all understand, and this is from where he welcomes our forum.
Christopher Hilali, I'm the International Secretary of the American Communist Party, and I want to greet all of the delegates, all of the distinguished guests at SOVINTERN. I'm here in Tehran, not with you in Moscow. We've helped to co-organize this amazing event with the Just Russia and all of our friends around the world. But of course, I felt it was important, having been invited to come to Iran to see the destruction wrought by the American and the Zionist imperialists. I'm here now bringing to you the story, bringing to the world the story of the impact of the imperialist war of aggression on Iran. And behind me is one of the many residential buildings targeted, 19 people killed from one family in this building. So once again, I extend my warmest greetings, my solidarity, and my best wishes on the success of this conference, on the success of our work in SOVINTERN, and let us continue to fight against imperialism, against capitalism, and against all forms of neocolonialism, against fascism, and we will win. This world will be a better world with socialism, with anti-imperialism, and with justice for all.
And finally, one more welcome. All my compatriots know that person very well, and many international delegates know him. That's an outstanding writer, and his novels are translated into numerous languages of the world. He's the laureate of many literature awards, and he is Lieutenant Colonel of the Russian Guard, the person who inspired the Russian Spring and who was the participant in the special military operation. That's a person who delivers truth, and he will speak to us from Donbas. Hello, my dear friends and comrades, dear participants in SOVINTERN conference. I welcome you from sunny Donbas. My name is Zakhar Prilepin. I do think that the place from where I'm greeting you is the key one in all our endeavors. Why? Because what is going on here in Donbas, what is going on in Iran, what is going on in a number of other countries, and many your countries somehow, is, in my opinion, the very first stage of the great anti-colonial movement. Unfortunately, this is not so good as it seemed to us in 2014. We thought that the victory is around the corner, and that the very fact that Russia being part of all that story will grant us the victory. But it happens so that this is not a private agenda, that this is a general common history of all the continents. I do think that our Congress and we have no negative sentiments regarding some countries, and we are not saying that we dislike NATO or the United States or anything like that, because SOVINTERN, this is not about a war against anyone, but this is about friendship of all the ethnicities, all the peoples who share the values of justice and freedom. That's our absolute aspiration. We will not be satisfied with the double or triple standards where everything and anything is humiliated. I'm happy that many of those sitting in that room, I know them personally, I know those guys, I know their charisma, and understand that our common cause would be promoted, that Mr. Perikel and many other people who were met everywhere, including on the land of Donbas. I wish to you very reasonable, steadfast and sober dialogue, without any being pathetic or overly emotional, because these are the things that we do not need and that sometimes may accompany such meetings when we inflate everyone with our conviction that we will win overnight, and then it never happens. We have actually to very soberly get prepared for a long-term resistance, but looking what is going on here in Donbas, what is going on in Iran or in Cuba, we understand that the resistance is very much possible, and that the forces that confront us, they are not monolithic, they are not comprehensive. If we realign, if we learn each other better, if we stretch the hands of assistance to each other, we will know how to confront that, and we'll come up with a plan of victory. And I congratulate you on the beginning of the work of SOVINTERN. Let's get down to work. Thank you. Dear colleagues, dear friends, we have listened to 5 video addresses to the forum that already raised the questions that we are going to discuss today. And for instance, I liked very much what Zakhar Prilepin has said. We are not against anything or anyone, we are for. We are not against anyone, but we stand up for uniting our forces in order to make the life of the mankind better. I think that this is a very important idea. For the keynote speech, I invite to the stage a person who is the chair of the organizing committee of our very first forum. He is also deputy chair of the Socialist Party, Just Russia, and deputy chair of State Duma, Alexander Babakov. Alexander, and while you are walking to the stage, let me spell out a question. What's the meaning of the modern socialism and how the socialist ideas may respond to the modern challenges, including development of new technologies, cyber wars, and the rise of the international tensions? Thank you. Dear friends, dear comrades, first of all, I would like to welcome you here in Russia. I thank you wholeheartedly for accepting our invitation to come to Moscow to work at the first SOVINTERN Forum. I'd like to thank all those who found an opportunity yesterday to lay the wreaths to the tomb of unknown soldier. This is a sacred monument not only to the Soviet citizens, because we certainly pay tribute to those who provided us with peace and freedom, something that we go on fighting for in our positions, each of us. I'd like to thank you for being not indifferent to what is going on and understanding the responsibility put on the shoulders of each of us in our countries, the responsibility for the fate of the world. And these are not just big words, these are the realities. That means that there is something that unites us. And we are united not as individuals, but we are united by some common agenda. Let me say a couple of words. The special military operation held by Russia, this is a part of the war against the collective West, that is not hiding its intention to kill Russia, the Russian culture, the Russian people, and now it is also waging a war against our historical memory, which is associated not only with the Great Patriotic War, but also against the contribution made by the Soviet Union, which was friend to many nations. And the Soviet Union fought against racism, colonialism, Nazis. And once again, I'd like to stress that the special military operation that started by the decree and by the decision of the Russian president to put an end to the genocide that the incumbent Ukrainian leadership waged against its own people, now transformed into a military confrontation between Russia and its allies and the collective West. Certainly, we are confident about our victory. But the special military operation, once again, has shown how important it is to concentrate our attention and our forces on the areas of our responsibility and in our countries and in our work with the international organizations. Look at the crisis of the international relations system. So the foundation for the negotiations has been eroded. And we cannot negotiate even the most important questions any longer. So we see only speaking from strength, a position which now is being pursued by the collective West. And that's why the very first Congress of SOVINTERN should be dedicated to what we are ready to offer to the world, to all those political forces that are seeking positive stance. And I'm mentioning the Soviet Union not by accident. I was born in the USSR. I got the very best that the USSR could offer. And this, my legacy, helps me to live and to strive even today. The Soviet project challenged and prompted the international development to move on the way to the social justice. But the Soviet project was shut down, not because it was bad. That's a separate story, a history that we have to study, and the Soviet experience in all these spheres in the positive and its negative manifestations is valuable, is priceless, but we should not replicate that, copy and paste that. We have to study that and develop and adapt that to the new realities. And the main part of my presentation would be dedicated to exactly that. So let us discuss how we see the movement forward, the progress that would help us to improve what ideologically the Soviet Union could propose, but what we are developing in our countries individually. Such factors and such phenomena that were born and were implemented in the Soviet Union, such as the welfare funding and macroeconomic planning and public consumption funds that facilitated the development not only of the developing nations, but also the West copied and pasted that. And their flourishing in the 1970s and 80s was driven by the replication of the socialist project. The scientific foundation laid by the Soviet Union has to develop further. We have to bring about the new formulas, a new calculus that would provide an answer to the dilemma of the interaction between a man and the nature. Why there is such a choice? Why we have such a choice? Because the 20th century has provided us with the technologies, with the technical solutions that today help us to meet the tangible and material needs of everyone. And President Xi and His Excellency Modi in India and President Putin and many of you sitting in that room understand that if we take the material consumption, the mankind is prepared to offer all the boons to everyone, and all those discussions about the limited resources and scarcity of resources are driven by the fact that the collective West is not ready to share all those boons with anyone. We have to come up with our common position. What has to be done in that respect? Can we speak about the needs that I'm sure are met with the help of the toolkit that the civilization has? For instance, the economic needs. What the modern economy is about. The economy for centuries was progressing on the premises of making profit. The colleagues before me said that we have to confront the capitalism, but we have to make one step further. We are weak not because capitalism is weak or strong. Yes, capitalism, this is a very powerful system, and it penetrated all the spheres of our life. But if we look at the latest statements of the leading institutions of the capitalist system, for instance, the IMF, that you know very well, it says that all of a sudden the market tools no longer work as efficiently as they used to, and the state has to invest more into the economy. I will not elaborate on the economy, but today capitalism as a system adapts very easily to the changing realities. And there are no other instruments that capitalism may use in order to maintain the welfare socialist systems. Just a nice-looking wrapping of the capitalism cannot fix the burning and pressing social problems and questions. People now understand more, they read more, and the capitalist ideology now is aimed at adaptation, so they try to adapt for what socialists of the world are speaking about. They are using such terms as the social justice, but they interpret that differently. And we have to confront that with the mechanisms providing some ideological tools. Not only we have to somehow speak about coming to power, we have to seize that power, because the truth is ours. So the capitalists are seeking profit, but what we have, these are about the socialist consumption funds. This is what unites the people. Does the childhood, the old age have any price? No. And the economic development goal that is highlighted by every party. Well, the president of Russia says that the goal of the Russian economy, and I'm sure that you have the same goal, so the goal of the Russian economy should be better quality of living. And we support our president in saying that. People have to live happily, and happiness, that's about the comfortable habitat. So this is not just several square meters per person in an apartment, but now happiness, that's about a comfortable house, and living that you still have to be in the comfortable environment, to be able to spend your leisure hours happily. You have to enjoy your life. Every person has to have an access to well-paid jobs, because we make that bounty with our hands. Here we speak about sovereignty and the economic sovereignty of every state. Such sovereignty has to focus on skilled, well-paid jobs. And it means that in order to make sure that such well-paid jobs are created, we have to have our sovereign economic models. And it has to be underlined by complete free education, comprehensive free healthcare. And this is not a burden for the state, but this is the goal that the state has to pursue. And with such a political program, we are doomed to success, because this is not just empty words or big words, but these are the opportunities that are offered by the economic tools in every country. What it means for us, having such targets, we have to look differently at the funding and financing. We should not confront the public and the private. The state has its own public goals, and they cannot be replaced with private. But private can serve the society as well, because, for instance, the business has to bear some social responsibilities. And the state should not only do policing and defending the borders. The state not only has to maintain all the face that exists in your country, but the state has to provide a part of the common to every citizen. And funding that common has to be the goal, and should not be funded like it used to be in Russia in the 1990s, when it was pushed to the back burner. And now saying that we, the socialists, we not only have some empty declarations, but we have necessary toolkit that would facilitate all the economic development processes. And I'm sure about what I'm saying. And for instance, let's have a look at China. Today's Russia, which is following the same way. Look, for instance, Russia is investing its economy, and we are developing not because we are lacking something. No, we are developing because any development in general of any state in particular should proceed not from the financial opportunities, but should proceed from our needs. Every country, every region has its own needs and its own opportunities. And we have to marry those needs and those opportunities. The key element of the economic development is availability of certain projects and the opportunity to develop them. And the financial system of the world, including the Russian one, kept imposing a cap on us. We were told about how much money every country may spend on its development, and I'm sure about 90% of such countries, probably not 100%, but 90% of you present here would know that it would be the International Monetary Fund that would dictate how much foreign currency can spend on the foreign trade and on your own country's development. But this is their position. This is about the financial colonialism. When we say that whether every country may do that, yes, we can do that. But we have to be supported by the international financial system, and the international monetary system that was built by the West, by the collective West, and primarily by the United States, which is based on the US dollar domination now, is being eroded, is collapsing on its own, because they have politicized the economy. They have weaponized the dollar, making it the tool of oppression. And this is what we see on the example of many countries. Even the Iranian conflict only reiterates that such an unchained strive for monopoly, that's a way to nowhere, and it is doomed to self-destruction. And the economic models of Russia, of China, of India, and all the countries of BRICS are bringing about the alternatives to such a financial system. If we all in our programs would support those economists and financiers who suggest to all of us the international tools and instruments that we could use for the development of our states, we should not be afraid of that. We are not afraid of that. This is the world of capital that is afraid of that, because it prioritizes its dominance. But the international financial system has to work for the sake of every single state. It has to provide with necessary resources all the countries that want to become sovereign. These things are very much possible, and we have the necessary toolkit, and I know that the discussions of today and tomorrow would elaborate on those alternatives. Speaking about the fight for the minds, this is what we have to do. Because if we provide answers to all the questions, how to achieve that, our ideas are winning, and these ideas were proposed by our predecessors, by our ancestors. But we have to support that with clear understanding and guidance as when and how we're going to win in that battle for people's minds. We have to provide clear explanation of our way forward. When we speak about what awaits us in the nearest future, thanks to the colleagues who supported the initiative of setting up SOVINTERN, those who have come to attend the very first Congress of SOVINTERN, we suggest such a format that now keeps up with the pace of the time. It means that not only we have to have regular meetings, but we may meet elsewhere online on a permanent basis. We can come up with common position, with common stance, and to develop for every country part of our movement to consolidate our forces. We are your allies. We're all allies. We are all partners. We're all friends. That's great that in our communication we can call each other a friend, a comrade. And this bears more responsibility than if we address each other saying Mr. And the victory would be ours, the victory in the broader sense of that. And thank you so much, and I wish you every success in your work. Thank you.
Dear friends and comrades, now we've just listened to very insightful and sincere interventions, and it's high time to introduce the representatives of the parties who are co-founders or co-initiators of this forum. Now, I think you can weigh in on Mr. Babakov's statement, on Zahar Prilepin's, on Mr. Muranov's statements, and the representatives of the fraternal movements from other countries. Now, thanks to our wonderful volunteers, I would like to ask the same question to the representatives of these co-founding parties, particularly those who, if you don't help us with the foreign language, with interpretation, I will help you. And I hope you can stick to a 3-minute limit, because there are a lot of people who'd like to speak. We've got wonderful simultaneous interpreters sitting in the booth who will help us to interpret these answers, so please use their headsets to listen to these interventions. Now, the first person I'd like to give the floor to is the leader of the UK Working Party, George Galloway. Comrade George Galloway.
Comrade Galloway, would you please share with us your ideas of what can be done to ensure the victory of socialism in today's world?
Well, it's a long time since I've spoken for only 3 minutes, but I'll do my very best in saluting the Party for a Just Russia and the organizers of the SOVINTERN project, with which we are proud to be associated. My definition of socialism comes ironically from Margaret Thatcher, the monster who destroyed our country, destroyed social democracy in our country after its very brief period. Speaking ironically to the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland, a Christian audience, she declared that there is no such thing as society. only individuals. And this seemed to me the antithesis of what it is we believe in. Only me and now, no us and always, no honoring other people's mother and father, no cherishing other people's children, just me and now, no us or always. And this is the socialism or barbarism dichotomy of which Rosa Luxemburg spoke. And it was said by some on the screen and even on the platform that we are not against anybody or against anything. I beg to differ. I am completely against the imperialism that Lenin identified as the highest stage of capitalism. I believe that capitalism leads to imperialism and imperialism leads to war. And our opposition to war and imperialism is therefore fundamental. We mean it when we say we are for socialism, but we also mean it when we say we're for socialism in the 21st century. My house is a museum to Soviet power, to the Red Army, to the great victories and achievements of the past. And I don't intend to change it, but it is a museum. It is a monument. And the problem with monuments is that eventually the birds begin to shit on them. We are a movement for socialism in the 21st century, and thanks to the young team that SOVINTERN has around it and central to it, we have the tools of the 21st century to make this a truly modern and a truly revolutionary movement. I've probably spoken for at least 3 minutes, so I send you the fraternal greetings of the Workers' Party of Britain, of which I am the leader, and in the presence of our General Secretary, Paul Cannon. I send you the greetings of the anti-war and anti-imperialist forces in my country. We are not responsible for Tony Blair. We are not responsible for Keir Starmer, who actually by the end of this day may no longer be the Prime Minister of Britain. Let's hope so. And thank you very much for your opportunity.
Well, the next 3 minutes, well, if you can hope to encapsulate of your emotions in these 3 minutes. The representative of the Communist Party of the US, American Communist Party, Mr. Hazendine.
Please respond to the same question about the future of socialism in contemporary world and what should we do to ensure this victory?
Firstly, I'd like to express my deepest appreciation to our fraternal party, A Just Russia, and the organizers and volunteers that have made this event possible. I would also like to extend my deepest appreciation for all the comrades now in attendance from around the world gathered together today. Dear comrades, I come from the country which is functionally, politically, militarily, the center of the global capitalist system. The country which now, in some sense, rules the world on the basis that it has provided the best model for mankind and its future. I can tell you firsthand, coming from this nation, that the capitalist system has become so dysfunctional and so incapable of delivering at the basic material level the ability for the ordinary person to look through the future with a degree of optimism that they and their generations after them can live in prosperity, that the United States has no moral, no spiritual right to lecture the people of the world, to claim to the people of the world that its system is the only possible path. But let's remember, comrades, the United States regime doesn't rule the world on the basis of spiritual and moral authority. It has principally governed and ruled the world on the basis of a material authority, resorting to the means of bribery, providing material wealth in some sense. But now we are at a crossroads. There's a global crisis of the capitalist system. It's no longer able to deliver the material prosperity for the overwhelming majority of people of the world and in my own country itself. So now we are faced with a dilemma. Following the end of the USSR, we're told that socialism has been eradicated from the face of the earth. We here today are testament to the fact that this is not the case. But additionally, let's remember something. There was a period preceding the Soviet state where there was no precedent for socialism. The founders of the Soviet state did not have the privilege of the incredible inheritance we now possess materially, spiritually, morally. We have a precedent, a long precedent of the possibility of the construction of an alternative system to global capitalism. Comrades, if the founders of the Soviet state began with nothing but belief in their hearts, in contrast to the private interest compelled and motivated by money, we here today are especially disposed to the possibility of providing the people of the world an alternative, because not only can we provide an alternative moral and spiritual path for the world, we also have the rich material inheritance of history itself. We can look to the example of the countless revolutionaries, socialists and communists of the world. We are beginning with some kind of foundation and some kind of basis that the first generations of socialism did not have. And now the task is to consolidate, to pool together our experiences, to pool together our methods of organization, our political experience, our culture, our values, our morality, and genuinely build a new headquarters for world socialism. Comrades, I once again want to thank all of you for making this possible. Thank you.
And now Said Bakali, he represents the Party of Progress and Socialism from Morocco. And we hope you can answer the same question.
هل النصر اشتراكية ممكن؟
أنا أرحب بكم هنا في موسكو. هذه هي فرصة طيبة لتطوير العلاقات.
I'd like to welcome you here. It's a great opportunity to improve ties between Russia and Morocco. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Mr. Babakov, who is a deputy chairman of State Duma. Dear comrades, dear organizers of the forum and representatives of public institutions and the parties and movements that have come here from all around the world, thank you for taking part in this important project to consolidate SOVINTERN, to consolidate all of our forces for socialism in the 21st century. I'd like to thank all those who are present here today on behalf of my party, on behalf of Mohammed al-Ben Abdali, for the invitation to take part in this forum. Thank you for coming here as well. So this great initiative is a major step for humanity. We can see that there is no balance in the world, and this is the first step that we must take to launch dialogue, rich discussions, multiple meetings, to consolidate and coordinate our activities to fight the challenges that humanity is facing. Our party was founded more than 33 years ago, and on behalf of the socialist movement in Morocco, I would like to express our conviction that the communist movement is an opportunity for humanity as the path forward. Today, we feel the pressure to unite for the benefit of progress so that we can fight these challenges internationally. This forum is an historic response to the concept of the end of history, the spread of capitalism. That's a practical response to the hegemony and the lack of unity. It's an alternative to the crises of capitalism, liberalism. And that's the choice. A choice for an end to crises and wars through peaceful means. We stand against fascist ideas that have become the enemy of humanity, just like the war the war of extermination that's taking place in Palestine, in counter of UN resolutions. Communism is the path forward towards equality, freedom. It's the only path to find challenges. The peace initiative, the friendship initiative to improve SOVINTERN through cooperation, through peaceful means between all the nations. That's the bottom line. And now going back to your question. First and foremost, I'd like to express my gratitude and deepest respect to the organizers of this forum. I'd like to thank Russian President Vladimir Putin for his unequivocal position on Iran, Venezuela, Palestine, for his ambition to put an end to all crises through peaceful means, and to put an end to the Morocco crisis in line with the initiative that was expressed in 1997. And there's UN Security Council Resolution 2276, the resolution that was adopted in the positive initiative sponsored by the Russian Federation as a major milestone towards political, peaceful resolution of this crisis. Thank you. And now, Nicaragua. Mr. Alonso, who is a deputy chairman of the National Assembly. So we hope you can talk of how socialism can prevail in all of the world, in every country. Добрый день, братья. Sorry. I'd like to thank everyone, all of the friends, brothers and sisters. On behalf of the delegation of Nicaragua, I would like to send our fraternal and revolutionary greetings from our President, Daniela Ortega Saavedra, and Rosario Murillo Zambrana, co-presidents of the Republic of Nicaragua, and also top leaders of the Sandinista National Liberation Front. It's a great honor for Nicaragua to participate in this significant and historic forum that seeks to create the international socialist network, SOVINTERN. It's organized by the Just Russia Party. We express our gratitude to this party for the opportunity to be here and for being a co-founder of this important struggle to protect the collective rights of the people. SOVINTERN is an initiative that is emerging in challenging times. Well, the ultimate goal is very important. It's peace, life, and prosperity for each of our countries. As I said, SOVINTERN is an initiative that is emerging in challenging, provocative times when the fundamental rights of our peoples are being violated. However, this is also a time of opportunity for our humanity. The International Socialist Network emerges as part of a response to fascist, imperialist, and neocolonialist practices that infringe on all human rights and threaten the existence of all forms of life on the planet. This is why the initiative to set up this network will be a proactive method to ensure peace around the world and also eradicate poverty and to address other issues without any exception. Today, as never before, we look for consolidation, unity, and will of all the forces and all the movements, political movements, social movements, and cultural movements of the left forces. We have all proven that we're committed to socialism. It's the only model that can provide for equitable, humane world focused on solidarity, on the prosperity of all the nations. On behalf of Nicaragua's Sandino and Ruben Dario, we welcome and recognize the International Socialist Network as a framework that will contribute to strengthening, protecting, and preserving the values and principles of solidarity, social justice, patriotism, unity, and cooperation, delivering the common good of our people. It is precisely on these premises that we will strive to ensure the dialogue prevails over confrontation. Mutual understanding and cooperation must prevail over exclusion. Today, our people urgently call on us to build real, sustainable, and long-term paths to peace, genuine peace. It will be sustainable and resilient and long-lasting. For Nicaragua, peace is not an empty slogan. It's a continuous effort to create. It's our daily practice and a historical commitment. It's the result of our people's struggle, its resistance, faith, and a firm determination to move forward toward the common good. We also like to recognize the role of the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and the role of the Russian people as a pillar to move forward to withstand hegemony through solidarity and unity and the fraternal friendship of our people. We also recognize President Xi Jinping, who's the president of the Communist Party of China, and the Chinese people and the Chinese government as a pillar of peace and stability, contributing to mutually beneficial cooperation and joint development, particularly those of the Global South. I'd like to conclude my intervention with the words of our co-founder, Rosaura Murillo. As we're building this network, we will exert ourselves to the utmost extent to protect our peace. And we will use information as a tool, cutting-edge technology as a tool. Our president said, step by step, we will build a world that relies on truth we will seek the unity of our people. Brothers and sisters, Nicaragua would like to reaffirm its commitment to all international efforts to promote peace, social justice, solidarity, and cooperation. We would like to reaffirm our commitment to be proactive as part of SOVINTERN. We'll share our experience, our vision, and our firm commitment to the ideals and principles that unite us. Let us move forward, inspired by the role models, our heroes, our heroines and martyrs, inspired by patriotism, unity and solidarity. Let's move forward because the future belongs to us. Thank you. The movement of socialists of Serbia is represented by our friend, Mr. Vulin. So what are the prospects of the victory of socialism today? Mr. Vulin, over to you. Уважаемые братья и сестры, товарищи, приветствую вас. От имени президента моей партии Александра Вулина. Он прекрасный друг российского государства, российского народа. Он сражается за свободу Сербии.
American sanctions, but these sanctions for him is not a punishment. For him, it is a medal which he carries with great pride. I also salute you in the name of my party, Movement of Socialists from Serbia, who is Marxist, patriotic party, who is for almost 20 years is fighting for social justice, national sovereignty, and traditional values. What is socialism in the 21st century? I don't know what is going to be in 2099, but I can tell you that in 2026, we need several things. First of all, and this is the basic, we need to be educated. Socialism is education. And the basic for every political education is Marxism. Marxism is that what all, is it the same for all of us? Doesn't matter how our party is calling. Are we socialist? Are we communist? Whatever. We are Marxist. Marxism is the basic, and Marxism is the future. It is not the past. So, education. For socialism, education. Second, it is the truth. SOVINTERN can help us to spread the truth. Socialism is truth by itself, but I will give you two examples of my country, how SOVINTERN can help us to spread the truth. Now, everybody speaks how international law is broken in some cases. And in the case of my country, it was broken in 1999 during NATO aggression. Everybody forgot that this was also attack on international justice and international law. SOVINTERN will help us to spread this truth and not to be forgotten that those who are making decisions in Berlin, Washington, London, don't think that we forgot that. Other truth, for example, that we could spread through the SOVINTERN is the truth about our courageous President Slobodan Milošević, the first victim of globalism, who was kidnapped, abducted, and killed in a criminal trial in Hague, just because they wanted to cover that they destroyed international law. These are just two truths that we want to spread. And SOVINTERN will help everybody of you to spread your truths to the world. Because we know that we are now living in a world of lies. Socialism is in danger now, in big danger, and in danger from the false socialist. Our world is full of so-called color revolutions. Those revolutions have many colors, and the red color in it is false. color revolutions are the new form of fascism, because with color revolutions, legally elected governments are toppled on the streets with the influence of the foreign enemies. SOVINTERN will help us, and SOVINTERN has duty, commitment to recognize false revolutions, to say this is not a revolution, this is color revolution, and mark it. As Comrade Galloway one time said to me, color revolutions only have form of revolution, but in their basic, they are country-revolutionary. Color revolutions are dangerous, but the biggest danger, but even more bigger danger, is imperialism and exploitation. And exploitation of one country every time comes after color revolution. Because when foreign enemies topple legally elected government, they come to the power, then they exploit country, their mineral and other resources, and later that country becomes just a base for military imperialism. Socialism is peace. Peace is not, when somebody wants peace, he is not a coward. When somebody wants a peace, it is a brave man. There is no biggest bravery than to fight for peace. And socialism must unite brave people. I said it yesterday. Okay, you can be Marxist, but you can be coward. But we need brave people, brave Marxists. People who are willing to fight for the peace, for truth, and to fight for unification of all of us. Not on a base of anything else except those things. I want to thank you, Comrade Babakov. I want to thank you for this fantastic project that you started. For us in Serbia, it is very important that this project is coming again from Moscow. And I think that the whole world should be thankful that sun of the socialism is going to be rise again from the side of Moscow. You gave the helping hand to the world which is now on the brink of catastrophe. And only brave people, only free countries, and only Marxism can stop that catastrophe. Thank you very much.
Well, that's a very emotional statement, just like all the previous ones. And I'd like to remind you that you also have an opportunity to exchange emotions and opinions during the sessions. So let's try to stick to the time limit, 3-minute time limit, if that's possible.
And next speaker will be a representative of the Party of Socialism in Moldova, Mr. Bogdan Sirdea. Dear colleagues, dear friends, dear comrades, in early 1990s, many celebrated the death of socialism. Some would even make actually festivals aimed at destroying the social system in the USSR. And they celebrated the end of free education, healthcare, and the end to the 8 hours long working day. What we got in exchange? Let me speak about my country, the country of Moldova. Moldova, for instance, 33% of the people are living absolute poverty, $2 per day. And it was one of the richest republic in the former USSR. We now are the poorest country in Europe, and second only to Ukraine. Although we used to be the richest, we have one of the biggest cemetery in Europe, St. Lazare, with biggest landfill in Cincinnati. We are #1 in terms of alcohol consumption, and we are second to none, outstripping Russia and Czech Republic, and we are #5 in the world in terms of dying out of the population. So the last 35 years, the population decreased 15%, although we were one of the most densely populated countries. And 2 people per hour migrate from the country. So we failed to reach the GDP of 1990, when the USSR was supposed to be obsolete and outdated. What development we can speak about when today the share of our industry is only 8% of the GDP, and it used to be 40%. And this figure is declining. Some would say that in exchange we got liberal democracy, the right for our children to change the gender. And what liberal democracy can we speak in the world in general when, let me repeat, 28% of the population of the world, 2.3 billion people, now live in food shortage, when about 1/3 of the mankind, 2.8 billion, live in poor living conditions, and 500 million of them are living in slums. Many people have no housing at all. We're 4% of the global population. What can we say now if 8.5% of the global population live in extreme poverty, $2 per day? I spoke about Moldova. So 33% of our people are living in extreme poverty. What human rights we can speak about when about 2 billion people contract tuberculosis, a quarter of the global population, and 1 in 6 suffer from cancer. Credit Suisse said that 1%, the gold billion, so to say, gold 1%, control 48% of the natural riches, and 50% of the poorest population of the world own only 1% of the global riches. But socialism is not dead, because you cannot kill the dream of justice and mutual assistance, the dream that there are now supreme races and the poorest ones, civilized and uncivilized peoples. There are no metropolis and colonies. We're all equal before each other, before the law and before the God. Socialism is not just about the free pensions that you deserve with your life, 8 hours long working day, but we also speak about the social elevators that you can be upgraded. Socialism, that's about the great GDP growth, just like the ones that used to be in the USSR in the 1950s and 60s, and the first Sputnik launch to the space. Socialist China is #1 in terms of GDP growth measured in PPP, purchasing power parity. So this is the country with the longest socialist boom in the history from 1970s and until today. And today China is the scientific lead in terms of the scientific publications in the world, followed by Nature Index, and Russia is the biggest gas exporter, the oil exporter #1, the biggest exporter of the produce and grain, and leader in the space technology. So socialism is not alive, but it is also inevitable. Human rights, democracy and system development are possible only once we have socialism, not only the market but also planned economy, not only freedom but also justice. When you pursue not only your personal interests, but also the public interests. Modernity and traditions have to be matched. And there is now socialism without traditional family, a man and a woman, without the father and the mother, without parents and children. There is no socialism without technologies, and probably there is no socialism without God. Thank you so much. Our next speaker, representative of Africa, will go back to Africa. Comrade Snuseda Babi from Tunisia forward, and as far as this is Africa. My colleague, the director of the Institute of Africa, Irina Abramo, wants to welcome him. Esteemed Snuseda Babi, I welcome you to Moscow. We share the ideas of communists. And please answer that question. Dear comrades, we are meeting on a turning point, turning moment when the world is facing a lot of challenges. And imperialism today, this is the most terrible problem that concerns not only the domestic policy, the foreign policy, but also it is felt in the area of the economy and finances. What is going on in Gaza? This is not a war on attrition or just a destruction. This is a genocide that is committed by imperialists. The same is taking place in Iran and Lebanon. A genocide, a total destruction. Also, kidnapping Venezuelan president and his wife, the commercial siege of Cuba that lasts for more than 60 years, the European resistance to the traditional values, and undermining the economic and political sovereignty. There is a need to set up SOVINTERN. Now, we consider that as a way out of the crisis. Following what Karl Marx once said, mankind cannot overcome those challenges alone. There are different poles in the world. SOVINTERN and its establishment, that's a real need. As far as it would build bridges between the economic and political cooperation. We need that in order to confront the imperialist hegemony. The history doesn't tolerate slowing down. We have to promptly address the current challenges. We have to resist, we have to fight. In all the countries of the world, we wish victory to Lebanon, Palestine, Iran, and long live communism and SOVINTERN. Thank you. Comrade Kabassan Lipin, chair of his party in Congo. What has to be done to make sure that socialism develops in the world? Good afternoon. I would like to welcome everyone present in that room. And I'd like to make our atmosphere a little bit warmer. And certainly, I would answer your questions. Viva SOVINTERN! Long live SOVINTERN! And once again, long live SOVINTERN! Viva SOVINTERN! And certainly, the victory would be ours. Dear friends, on behalf of the Democratic Republic of Congo and on behalf of our association, I'd like to express our gratitude for your kind invitation. We're glad to take part in the work of the Congress. We would like to thank the Socialist Party of the Russian Federation, just Russia. Certainly, we believe it is very important to pursue that initiative that helps us to restart socialism. We would work all together. We thank Alexander Babakov and all his team for that opportunity. That's a way to manifest our aspirations. Let me note, today we welcome all our comrades. We are living through a historical moment, a historical milestone, setting up SOVINTERN movement that would help us to develop in the 21st century. That's important to fight against imperialism. As far as socialism has to be developed across the globe, we have to respond to the challenges of the time, proceeding from the historical legacy of the socialist movement. We have to unite and to create a harmonious environment that were built by the socialist parties of the past. We have to retain our historical memory, to keep it. Setting up SOVINTERN will bring about the hope that the dreams of equality, fight against imperialism, would come true. And certainly, those dreams, those goals have to be weighty against the backdrop of poverty, wars, imperialism. Dear friends, dear socialists, let the future that relies on SOVINTERN be bright. Every member of SOVINTERN has to contribute to the common foundation of our shared future. Let's have a look at the economic miracle of China that for many years was a role model, showed that the contribution of everyone is valuable. SOVINTERN, that's an opportunity for every child, every woman, every man to make a contribution. Today we're here in Moscow, and we believe that this is a kind of a cradle of socialism. That's a cradle that was born in the USSR. And that's the place where the builders of communism were born. So let us stand up in order to pay tribute to the memory of all the socialists and communists. Comrade Lenin, without Lenin there would be no modern socialism. We have to admit that fact. Thank you so much, and please take your seats. Thank you so much. Dear colleagues, dear comrades, we have listened to 8 very emotional, but at the same time very informative contributions. All the speakers tried to answer the question what the modern socialism is about. But I'd like to take it over from Bogdan Sirdi from Moldova, who said that socialism, that's a dream. Mr. Babakov, I have a question to you. Summarizing what's been said, how we can make that dream a reality, make it come true. Friends, those contributions, those speeches have shown that this is not a dream, this is a reality. Let's try to compare what our friends and comrades were speaking about. They were speaking about their colleagues. They were speaking about those who are in a dire situation. People of the same spirit, not just from Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua. These are all those who are confronting the evil the collective evil of the West that was generated by capitalism along with this ideology. They are resisting to what is prioritizing individualism. None of the speakers spoke about themselves or their family. All the speakers were saying that we all are united in seeking solutions for everyone, regardless of the color of the skin, the faith, or the language that we're speaking. We all deserve something better, and the future is in our hands. Look at that pitiful image of our Western opponents. Once they gather, they discuss how to destroy this or that country, how to cheat, how to use different military means in order to confront the good. So that's just about very deplorable existence on planet Earth. Here we have gathered the people who are ready to dedicate their life to constructive work, to leave a legacy for the future generations. These are not just big words, that's a reality. I just named only some elements that our party offers. But we are ready to work with other people. We are ready to propose a toolkit, a set of instruments that could be implemented everywhere in the world. And we always would have an upper hand. We are moving forward progressively, proceeding from the achievements of science and education, proceeding from the ideals of morality. In the 1990s, there was a movie, probably, which was not accessible to many of our foreign friends. And the protagonist fought against the evil, but he kept saying that, well, the truth is the power. And I'm sure that our power also is about being true. And we are making our dreams coming true, taking some practical steps. I invite you to proceed with the work of SOVINTERN. Congratulations once again. Thank you. Comrades, now we have free-flow discussion. I invite you to take the floor. We have an ambitious task. We actually tried to keep up 3 minutes time limit, but now I give you no more than 90 seconds, a minute and a half. Among the present, I see Comrade Fidel Castro. That's the grandchild of Fidel Castro. Over to you. And the volunteers would help us with passing the mics. Good morning, dear participants. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers and the Just Russia Party for this opportunity to share our ideas with you. That's a great pleasure for all of us to be part of establishing of SOVINTERN. That's the anti-colonial, anti-imperialist network. And this is in the making. Now, 36 years after Fidel Castro for the first time arrived to the USSR. Let's speak about Fidel. And the first idea I would like to express is about his legacy, his ideas. This is not something that belongs to the past. This is, in essence, about the future, because the ideas of Fidel are very relevant, are still relevant, and they can impact not only the revolutionaries of Cuba, but also the socialists of all over the world, now and in the future, not only in my country. This is true for all the poor countries of the world, all those who are humiliated, who suffer from that. This is the time for speaking in one voice, when we all march against imperialism and along with Fidel, we agree that sovereignty, this is not what can be discussed or negotiated. This is what belongs to every country. It is not bargainable. We learned from Fidel, because uniting, this is the only way that we can perform our duty. Fidel Castro told us that there are no situations where the human mind would not find a way out. Fidel Castro is no longer a man, that's a moral guide, a bearing in that world. The legacy of all the people is immortal. Fidel has become a unique person, not only of the 20th century, but also the 21st century. That's why, with our scientific development, we may confirm that Fidel, that's the force that has changed the way to victory. His charisma, the light that he emanates, he is always with us. What persists in our labor, even in chemistry, that unites millions of people across the globe, and Fidel is still the leader not only of the Cuban people, but also of Latin America, North America, and all of us in that room, because we all stand up for justice, dear friends. The Cuban Revolution now lives in siege, launched by the American imperialists. This is not just an attempt to threaten our regime, but they wage terrorist attacks. That's a real terrorism when Cuba, the country that dreams of justice, now is being accused of terrorism. No, we cannot be a safe harbor for terrorists. We are cooperating with all the world, and this is a totally unprecedented threat that we are living in. White House, Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, they all try to destroy our house, our common house, our country. They're about launching missiles against us. We suffered from perennial sanctions, but neither the sanctions or those bombs and missiles would kill us, would kill Fidel. We are told, give up your identity, give up your sovereignty, and you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. But this is not diplomacy. This is just about imposing your will on other people. And we call that the physics of our dignity. We will always resist to such encroachments. Trump believes that violence and force would help him, but now any force can be countered, and the Cuban people live up to that principle. Cuba, that's a country that expresses its solidarity with all the countries that profess justice. We support Venezuela and other countries because we're equal. We have shared history, and certainly no pressure from the imperialist countries would never make us obey. We can boast sustainable development. My father dedicated all his life to the development of science, and in his memory, I want to say that we are developing vaccines, we are creating medical drugs, we are training doctors. We live with sanctions, but we continue the cause of my father, of my grandfather, along with the academics, with the scientists. We invite you to go with us hand in hand against the sieges and blockades. We have to stay united. When they try to humiliate us, they will hear our common voice, and love is stronger than hatred. This is the best manner of expressing our tribute to Fidel Castro if we work for the sake of our shared bright future. Dear friends, we share that historical privilege of being the generation that lives 100 years after Fidel Castro was born. That generation never wanted to sacrifice their lives for nothing. We, people of Cuba, we bear the responsibility for the cause that Comandante Fidel Castro sacrificed his life for. We have to build our world altogether. I'm speaking about the young people, about the scientists, those who has Fidel Castro in his DNA, in his blood, on his mind. And now we can unite. We are the blood of his blood. And with no doubt, we will not give up. We will stand up against any blockade. Long live Fidel Castro. And in the name of his ideas and his dreams, we'll be here, and we will continue doing what Fidel Castro did. Patria muerte, motherland or death. We will win. Thank you. A representative from the Chinese University, Mr. Wu Xui. Mr. Liu, over to you. Thank you so much. My name is Liu Xu. I am from China. I am working at the Chinese People's University. Thank you so much for inviting me to that hallmark event. I joined the ranks of the Communist Party of China when I was a student. Every member of the Chinese Communist Party has a dream. And I'm sure that this is something shared by all the socialists of the world, to liberate the mankind. And next to us, there is a square with a statue of Karl Marx, who said, the workers of all the world, unite.
And I really support this organization myself. I support the platform. I support SOVINTERN. And SOVINTERN must become one of the most fundamental socialist frameworks. And I'm sure that this event will be a major success and a victory. I work at a university, and I always say that we need to set up a commission on youth and education. We know that youth development is key, and we need to instill instill youth with ideas of communism, Marxism. And this year is a year of education. Education in China, and we are ready to work together between Russia and China. And we are ready to work together with other socialist partners. And it's not only me. I think the organizers of SOVINTERN, our university, our governments stand ready to do this. Our China, our Communist Party, would also support the establishment of SOVINTERN. And this will be a great success. I'm pretty positive about it. There will be victory. Our socialist victory will be with us forever.
We have with us here the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Kenya, Comrade Omole. Comrade Omole, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, the founders of the SOVINTERN. I just have a few remarks. And maybe my message to the founding members of the SOVINTERN is that the future is red. That is why we are here. And in my visit to Moscow, we must therefore remind ourselves that we do not conduct our revolution in the circumstances we choose, but in the circumstances that is given to us. In fact, today when I was reflecting in the car, and we are on winter, the Great Patriotic War was fought and won during winter. And yesterday when we were laying the wreath at the General Zhukov and the great Red Square, all these ideas that we only met in books came to us. So we want to say today, we are grateful to the founders of the SOVINTERN. But to the Just Russia, the Socialist Party of Russian Federation, the Kenyan workers, the African workers, and the Communist Party Marxist of Kenya says, hoorah. Why? SOVINTERN was the international department of the Party of Lenin. It was the international department of the Party of Stalin, that which supported the national liberation movement in the African continent. This is the nostalgia that the African people have today when we talk about SOVINTERN. It is the out of necessity that the triumph of imperialism in the African continent will weaken the global socialism movement. Today we stand and say that the entire global South cannot fight and win and build the most urgent project, which is socialism, until they achieve the most immediate task, which is the fight for sovereignty. Every sovereign country on earth today is under United States attack. Look at Iran being bombed. Look at Russia, it's being encircled. And then we are told that Russia has expansionist tendencies. Who has expansionist tendency more than United States imperialism and the Washington War Consensus? Who took the Baltic states? Who is supporting the fascist dictatorship in Ukraine? So we are saying today that as I left Nairobi, every publication is telling us that Russia wants to recolonize the Sahel region. But today, we reminded the SOVINTERN Congress today that without the hardware of Russia, the Sahel region would have been bombed to Stone Age. This is important for us to acknowledge. And the French imperialists, next month on 11th and 12th, there is African-French Summit in Nairobi. The French is moving all his military hardware after being humiliated in West Africa to East Africa. For what reason? They are preparing for war in Africa after the West of Asia. We ask for solidarity in this SOVINTERN that the French imperialism that has been humiliated in the West of Africa must now be humiliated in Nairobi. And that's why we are organizing the counter summit against French imperialism. What about military encirclement? China is being encircled. Look at the war in South China Sea. Look at Taiwan. Today, the classic British has one military base in our country. For what purpose are they occupying our country? The United States has 2 military bases. The biggest unmanned drone used to fight African people fighting for sovereignty is in Nairobi. The entire coast is being built to check this China Road and Belt Initiative. So we want to say that for us to achieve the most urgent task to start building socialism, we must start fighting for sovereignty. And that is why the Communist Party Marxists stand high without humiliation in solidarity with the sanctity of the Russian state. Because Russia is a sovereign country. Russia does not have a puppet of United States imperialism. We wish that after the fight for sovereignty, then we can start the immediate task, what we called the National Democratic Revolution. After the National Democratic Revolution, we can start the most urgent task of socialist construction. For those who have illusions about wishes, about pleading with Donald Trump and his war consensus in Washington, you are doomed. They don't understand any logic other than plunder. The United States is a settler colonialism built upon the blood of red Indians. Look at Palestine. What are they doing to Palestine? Only cutting the necks and bombing people. This is the culture of the United States. To kill people, murder people, rob people. They must be humiliated. Comrades, I will say that in respect to the United States imperialism, and in the contradictions that have been outlined by Lenin, there is hierarchy of imperialism. Today, the United States is like a wounded lion. They must choose their death. Do they want to die with the entire planet? Or do they want to die, not with humiliation, but with dignity to save the entire planet? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to give the floor to another delegate, Dimitrios Dikonstanopoulos, who's the founder and coordinator of the Delphi Initiative.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the organizers, especially the Party of Just Russia, for the initiative to launch this long overdue conference. I want also to congratulate and thank Comrade Babakov, Comrade Prilepin, and Comrade Katsoulas for the enormous energy I know they contributed to the success of this conference. In 1991, the captains of the global financial capital believed for a while that we were living through the end of history after the dislocation of the Soviet Union, that they could establish their global empire on finance, generalizing a system of parliamentarian pseudo-democracy by force of the Western capitalist political, economic, and social paradigm. They hoped that the entrance of Western capital and Western values in China would provoke a Chinese catastroika, overthrowing the regime of planned economy. They hoped that Russia would continue in the direction of decomposition. They hoped that no class, nation, or state would dare to contest their power, and they were immune to future financial and economic crises. But it did not happen this way. China is We see the fantastic rise of China. We see the comeback of Russia. We see the rise of the South. We see also a looming systemic economic crisis. This is what explains, in fact, why the big capital is obliged, the global financial capital is obliged to quit the globalization model. And it is going to the more extremist ways of domination we have known before the Second World War. That is, it is going to fascism and war. And this is what we see now under the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump. The United Nations, we are going far away from the United Nations. The international law, de facto and in words, is contested. Even the civilization and humanism are contested. The will of the strongest becomes the ultimate law, the will of the dictator. And this tendency is quite clear in the legalization of Azov neo-Nazi militias in Ukraine, in the Palestinian unbelievable genocide, in what is happening in Lebanon, in Syria, in Venezuela, in Iran, in Cuba. Judging from history, what the geopolitical strategy of those forces are to control, and this is the logic of what they are doing, irrespective of what they say, is to control all strategic points on Earth before attacking Russia and China. Of course, I know that many people don't believe that, but they have to explain what exactly is the American and Israeli policy, what they are doing. The heroic resistance of the Iranian people to the United States and Israeli imperialism provided suddenly all of us with a historic opportunity to go to a counteroffensive before they are able, the offending camp, stabilize the situation. History will not forget us if we don't use this historic opportunity. Of course, in order to resist in an effective way imperialism, which is the child, after all, of capitalism, we need to challenge it with a credible counter-vision. We need to define once more what is socialism, to confront the ecological and the AI questions. I hope that you will organize such special conferences treating with these subjects. I must say that I'm very happy that this conference is happening in Moscow, because Russia was the first country which understood that it cannot develop in the imperialist context. And imperialism is not an accidental, is not a conjunctural, it's a systematic, organic product of capitalism. Capitalism cannot exist without imperialism. Russia understood that in 1917. And then China also followed post-anti-colonial revolutions also. They understood that it was impossible in the imperialist context to develop in any way. They would condemn to be dominated. Unfortunately, Russia had the opportunity to learn this the hard way in 1990 as a result of the enormous, unbelievable, incredible concessions its leaders made to Western imperialism. I hope that this SOVINTERN founding conference, which is coming in a very critical time, will help reunite the forces of Russia with the forces of the world exploited classes and oppressed nations, which is a natural alliance in order to confront imperialism. Our initiative, the initiative I represent here, believes strongly that there is no way to address any problem on a national or regional level, because in our era, all problems are global in nature. And also, you cannot address them only by state actors. You need mass movements to enter the scene of history. I hope that your organization, our organization, the SOVINTERN, will contribute to this to this direction. The moderator asked how we believe that we can go to socialism or something like that. I would need a week of preparation and an hour to speak to give an answer. But as I'm a little bit practical person, I believe that we must immediately begin campaigns for Cuba, the Palestinians, and Maduro. It's very important, it's of strategic importance in order to stop the imperialist machine. And by the way, our Serb friend said that we're living in a sort of news and information vacuum. We don't learn what is happening the one to the country of the other. So we have, as a Delphi initiative, we have a site, defenddemocracy.press, which is at the disposal of the SOVINTERN. It is, we will welcome any contribution of yours and any exchange of information and analysis. Thank you very much, a good success.
I'd like to thank all the speakers, all of these wonderful, amazing ideas and emotions cannot be contained in the format, but following the break, you'll be able to talk about it during strategic sessions. And Irina Bravma will walk you through the topics on the agenda of these strategic sessions. Colleagues, it's a tough choice. You have to decide which session you will join, so right now I will invite those who drafted the agenda so that they could pitch what's going to take place, what's going to happen there. We talk a lot about socialism and how we're going to defeat imperialism and capitalism. So we need to set the goals in a very clear-cut way to be concise. So again, we don't have too much time, colleagues. So I hope you can stick on the main message. I give you all 3 minutes. And the first session, digital partisans, digital guerrillas, political communication in the 21st century. And that will explore how we can still hammer home our ideas despite the domination of the Western media. That will be led by the member executive board of Mr. Jackson Hinkle. Do we have him? Jackson, are you in the room? Could you please give Jackson a microphone? The microphone, please.
Hello, comrades. I'll keep it very short because I think everyone is excited to get into these panels. Thank you so much to Comrade Babakov and Prelepin and all of the parties that are here today in Moscow, Russia for SOVINTERN. On this first panel, of course, we're going to be joined by our comrade Boyan Vulin, as well as Hazal Dean, the chairman of the American Communist Party, and George Galloway, the leader of the Workers' Party of Great Britain. It's imperative that in moments like this, we not only focus on how we can combat the Western misinformation that is so present in the world, but also how can we turn the anger of the average people all across the world that are witnessing the injustice on a daily basis into real political action. And that's one of the biggest goals when there's billions and billions of dollars spent each and every month all across the world on trying to dissuade working class people from taking action into their own hands. Yes, people are upset by the genocide they see. Yes, people are offended by the fact that their taxpayer dollars are going to Ukraine, but action is the most important part, and that starts with communicating on the platforms that are controlled by the same entities that we hope to change the power in the hands of. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I hope to see you on this first panel, again, with Hazal Dean and George Galloway.
Thank you, Jackson. Now I'd like to give the floor to our I'd like to introduce our second session, SOVINTERN platform, socialism, social network, and AI. We all understand that we need to leverage cutting-edge technology in our fight, all the digital tools available. And right now, Alexander Vorobyov, CEO of Trapas, will explain us about the platform that was set up to bring together all the socialist forces around the world. Alexander, over to you. Alexander is a very young person. We need this fresh blood, and definitely it's youth that harnesses and unlocks new tools. Hi, my name is Alexander Vorobyov. Together with my team, we have provided the technology behind the platform. I hope you can join our strategic session. We will unveil what we've done. It's the online museum of socialism. We'll walk you through our plans, a socialist platform, SOVINTERN.org, that will leverage AI's technology, and we'll also discuss the ideas and principles that underpin the socialist network. I'd like to be brief. The key message is, it might seem obvious, but still, you cannot build a fair and just future without a clear-cut foundation today, and without understanding, without recognizing, without knowing the achievements and the failures of the past. This must be the foundation of our socialist network. We've been designing the tools, and we hope these tools can help us. So once again, you're all invited to our strategic session. And right now I'd like to move from words to action and present a short video that we put together with my team, and that will showcase the key principles and technology that will help drive the growth of our socialist network. An anonymous, fully anonymous socialist network without surveillance, leveraging the latest AI technology. SOVINTERN, the first socialist network for those who value anonymity. We have online museum of socialism that brings together people without requiring any personal data. The first users will get these links from the developers, and then you can use these links. You can also create new links to invite up to 5 people. You have group and individual chats. You can read it in your own language, or you can read it in the original. So we leverage AI, and that will help you to translate the content into the language of choice. You can talk to anyone, define the borders so that the users will always be heard. SOVINTERN, a social media where you use the same language, this language of truth. You always have an option to add AI bot Comrade, which generate answers to the requests as a contemporary LLM. And your Comrade can use the background of the chat or the previous stories if you need, but it will always reply to you based on socialist ideas. Does AI know everything? It's up to you. If you trust us, it will get hold of contacts and become your comrade. If not, he'll just be the keeper of the ideas. SOVINTERN will grow with you. So sometimes, first of all, it's a chat, then it's your feed, and then online conference, up to 20 speakers and 200 participants. And you will not be able to find it in any app store or Google. We protect you from any leaks. SOVINTERN is the bridge between the past and the future. You discuss ideas in a safe, anonymous way, and no one's going to eavesdrop on you. Your voice is part of a new chapter of the history. Well, you're all welcome to our strategic session. Thank you, Alexander. And now the third session is the Donbas crisis. It's a point of gravity for the world. And during this session, and participants will learn the truth of the special military operation, and it will be presented by the editor-in-chief of Ваши Новости, Ivan Andreev. Well, I'll try to be brief. We came back from the Donbas yesterday, and we had the representatives of several countries, Asia, Africa, Europe. And we've been doing this for 3 years. So I thought that the Donbas is an extremely important starting point for what's happening here. It's a starting point for this particular event. Every time I come to the city of Donetsk with foreign dignitaries, we had Hazardin, we had Jackson Hinkle, we had a wonderful Crespan Chimanga, who was really emotional there. So we passed through the square of Donetsk, of this Lenin monument. And the people of Donbas in 2014, the miners, entrepreneurs, they staged their own revolution, their own protest. You can say against capitalism, against imperialism, for sure, and fascist pressure. That was exerted by Ukraine, supported by the West, the US, etc. And these people came together, and we can safely say that, we've gathered here to celebrate their protest. Russia started its own fight. It has joined other allies, the representatives, whose representatives have gathered here today. That's what we're going to discuss during the session. But I would also like to say that it's a wonderful day, it's a wonderful event. And many years later, as you're going to talk about it to your own kids, you're going to say it was the 27th of April, typical Moscow weather, snow, wind, and you'll be the first to set up this movement. We will focus on a broad range of issues. We'll have a wonderful philosopher who's going to give the philosophic underpinning of that. We'll have a military serviceman who will provide you with the military context. Now, I'll be there as a journalist, as the organizer of these trips to the Donbas, and it will also feature those who came to the Donbas from other countries. So welcome. If you join us, you'll have an opportunity to present your point of view. Thank you. And finally, the fourth strategic session, situation in the period of World War III and the strengthening of anti-fascist and imperialist front, will be presented by Dimitrios Petelias, a member of the International Working Group of the World Anti-Imperialist Platform.
Good afternoon, my dear friends. I apologize for my Greek accent. I'm very humbled to be among you today. And certainly I would like to attend all the sessions. All of them are very interesting, but I have to invite you to my session. We'll be speaking about the situation amid the Third World War and consolidation of the anti-imperialist front. On behalf of the Global Anti-Imperialist Platform, I'd like to invite you to attend that session, because that's a very material question. A question which is important methodologically, theoretically, and organizationally. what today's imperialism is about. How is it different from the imperialism of the 20th century, for instance? What kind of the Third World War we're speaking about? What conflicts? What differences may result in the Third World War? What interests are there? And those who would attend that session will have a chance to listen to our talented young coordinator Igor Orlov, Nikolai Starikov, Liu Sui from China, Buker Ngesa Umole, our heroical comrade from Kenya, and he was subject to several assassination attempts, and quite recently he was released from jail, and we need such comrades, such people who can boast about theoretical and practical skills. We thank him and we welcome his participation. Alexander Denich, Miguel Alexander Escobar, Akar Suleiman, Ruslan Grebnev, Zun Sasamoto, and Beatrice Bisio. And I do not name other our colleagues for the sake of time. Thank you. Dear colleagues, friends, our plenary session is almost over, but in the very end I would like to encourage all of us to remember one song. That song was written 155 years ago, but by its emotional energy and its loyalty to the ideals of social justice, it is still relevant today. And those of you who have not guessed what this song is about may recognize it immediately with the first tune. Arise, wretched on the earth. Arise, convicts of hunger. Reason thunders in its crater. This is the eruption of the end. Of the past, let us wipe the slave clean. Slave clean. Slave masses, arise, arise. The world is about to change its foundation. We are nothing, let us be everything. This is the final struggle. Let us gather together, and tomorrow, with International, will be the human race.
C'est la rupture de la fin, du passé fait une table rose, pour l'esclave debout, debout. Le monde devant changer de base, nous ne sommes rien, soyons tous. C'est la lutte finale.
rayos de la tierra empieza mélica legión. Atruena la razón en marcha, es el fin de la opresión. Del pasado hay que hacer añicos, legión esclava empieza a vencer. El mundo va a cambiar de base, los nada de hoy todo han de ser. Agrupémonos todos en la lucha final. El romano es la internacional. Agrupémonos todos en la lucha final. El romano es la internacional.
On such a note, we're finishing the plenary session. I thank all the participants in it, and let me remind you that 2:30, the strategic sessions will start their work. Thank you so much.
Товарищи,